Welcome, Walnut. I'm Lara, but you can call me Laz, your host for Walnut Wednesday. This is your reminder to be brave, be yourself, and know that you can make the world a better place just by what you decide today. Here, I'm going to share my weekly walnuttings with you on a Wednesday. Hello, Walnut. It is me, Laz, here, your host of your host for Walnut Wednesday. How are you this week? Let me know how you're going. I'm so happy you're here. I would love to hear from you. I know I've said this a couple of times, but if you're here, let me know, because I always find it fascinating that I'm speaking to you, I'm giving you my soul, but I don't know that you're there. So if you are, thank you so much, but also let me know. I want to hear about you. I want to know about you. I want to hear from you, and I want to discuss all the things with you. So, hello, welcome. Happy Walnut Wednesday. This week, my walnutting is going to relate a little bit with courageous conversations, but also I've had a big realization, and I don't know if this happens, in the age group that I'm in, or if it's just by circumstance because I'm living back at home. But one thing that I have really just started to fully understand is about parents becoming people. And so a little while ago, I think it was this year, I was chatting with my sister-in-law. We were talking about like family stuff and blah, blah, blah. And she said something that didn't really strike a chord with me until now, but she said, yeah, you just get to that point where you realize your parents are just people and they're just doing their best. And I was like, shrugged it off, sort of thing, like, yeah. Because, you think about like when you get a bit older, when you hit your sort of mid-20s, your folks kind of become like your friends, right? You can talk to them about stuff. You don't have to like secret hide stuff from your parents anymore, really. Like you can just kind of talk as an adult to another adult. But this is coming more and more into my foresight of, oh my God, my parents are just people. So I don't know. I'll tell you the story of like how this kind of came into fruition, what I was sort of thinking about when I had this realization, Walnut. But basically, the other day, I kind of just had a mental breakdown. It was well overdue. It's like at the moment, it's like coming a new moon. Like it's just a whole bunch of like emotional time. But I really wanted to rest, and I'm living at home with my parents. So I'm very, at the moment, I'm very, like not limited, but, sometimes it's just easier to abide by how they do stuff rather than how you do stuff. For example, like with eating, Geordie and I have just like accepted the fact that we've just turned into little pumpkins for a little while, because it's just no point trying to introduce new foods to people who are so ingrained in their systems and how things are. It's just easier. We don't need to courageously conversate about it. It's just actually easier to just eat what they eat and be little pumpkins. And that's absolutely fine. And I'm content and happy with my body and eating like a pumpkin and whatever. And I do not pumpkin. I just think pumpkin sounds better in my mouth. So, where was I going with this? Oh, now I've lost my train of thought because I'm too busy just thinking about pumpkins and pumpkins. So living with my parents, it's just been a little bit easier to do their things. That obviously, as an adult, comes with its own trial and tribulation, because when you live with someone, it's always so different, right? And being a grown-up, living with the people who were the people who raised you, who told you what to do, pretty much taught you how you think and things like that. As an adult now, with your own opinion, with your own way of doing things, with your own life lessons already learned, it does bring about a little bit of a clash. So anyway, I was talking about my mental breakdown. I think my dad's like walked past or something, and he made a face at me. Oh, he was just like, sort of thing, because I didn't go, and the lines of communication were not clear, put it that way. And I just got so stressed because I wanted to rest literally all morning. That was like my day off. I've been working from home. I just wanted to chill out and rest for the whole morning and then do stuff later in the afternoon. But this little minor body language thing spiraled me into this like abyss of, oh my God, I have to decode what this means. I have to abide by another rule. I feel like I'm just this little spoiled brat who's just getting like, I feel like my parents are thinking she's just a spoiled brat just trying to get her way, la 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 la. And it spiraled, man. I got so stressed and so overwhelmed that I rung Geordie like crying because I was just like, I don't want to decode all these things all the time from other people. I don't want to. Why do I have to do this? And then anyway, my walnutting was that there's so much more to the story, but it's really so storm in a teapotty. It's not even worth kind of discussing with you. I'm sure you can kind of get what you get what I mean anyway, Walnut. But my walnutting in the end was I was kind of left stewing on it, right? It is that storm in a teapot thing where it's like everything, I'm just in the teapot and I was just like stewing and it's all going around, but from the outside looking in, it's really just not that big a deal. And I was stewing and stewing. So I talked to my sister about it because obviously the best part about having a sibling is they understand your parents when you're when you're just needing to sort of get something off your chest. And she was the one who actually pushed me to Walnut with this because I thought in my head, like what I said before, oh, just let it leave it. Sometimes it's just easier to shut up. But the fact that I was stewing, she could kind of recognize that it was really bothering me. So I walnutted and I had a courageous conversation. And let me know if you resonate with this, Walnut, but sometimes those courageous conversations with someone close to you, like a friend or family, they're almost harder than with your boss or in like a work or a separate circumstance. The people that are closest to you, it's harder to sort of take that little extra brave walnut step and say, hey, I need to talk about this. So yeah, and I psyched myself up. I snowballed, I bully demoned, I imposter syndrome. I anticipated literally every single outcome that could possibly happen under the sun. But I knew in the end that, I needed to walnut, and this is something that I just needed to basically get it off my chest. And so thanks to my sister for that, because she was the one who kind of gave me that flip 360, not 360, that outside looking in perspective that I couldn't really see because I was just in my stormy teapot. So I went up and I said, hey, talk to my dad, and I said, this really upset me. And then he said, well, may I give my point of view? I said, yeah. And then I said, and this is my point of view. And then we said, yeah. And I said, well, that's all I wanted to say. And then Dad's like, okay. I was like, yeah. So I was just pretty upset today. He was like, okay, well, sorry I upset you. And we had a little hug. And then I was like, I'm sorry I upset you too. And then he's like, let's try not to upset each other from now on. It was like real cute. It was like a really lovely, I've got tear in my eye. It was just a really lovely moment. But I also am really lucky that I have open communication and a space to do that with my family. I know that some families are not, you couldn't be in a position to potentially have a conversation like that. But I don't know, it was just really nice. And I don't know where I was going with that because I got all emotional. But bringing me back to the point of I see myself in the responses that my dad was giving me, if that makes any sense. Like the active listening, the really like, okay, here's my point of view, but I'm actually listening to yours. And I just kept getting smacked in the face with this conversation I had with my sister-in-law. Like, yeah, you get to a point in life where your parents become people. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't know, that my little meltdown that I had on the weekend just kind of really brought that to the forefront of my like adulthood. And I don't know if it's a nearly 30 thing or if it's like something that happened. So Walnut, if you're my age, I'd love to know if you've had an experience like this before. But yeah, I'm just kind of getting that little reality shock, like, oh my God, they're not like, I mean, I still will go to them for advice and for help and for all those kinds of things. It's hard to really put into words, but yeah, they're just people. They're just doing their best. They're just living by the way that they've been conditioned and what's happened to them in their lives and the experiences that they've had. They're just people. They're not this, like, you know, when you're a kid and your parents are on this pedestal and they're like your heroes and stuff. And while my parents are definitely still in the hero bucket, like somehow in some, like, just living my life and getting older, the pedestal just come down a little bit. And lately I've just been reality checked to fuck where I'm just like, oh my God, they're just a person. They're just a person. They're just like me with their own issues, with stuff that makes them cry. They probably have like little mental breakdowns about me being a pest. Like, yeah, it's making me a bit mosh. But yeah, that's my walnutting this week. So I had a courageous conversation, which you know me, I love those, and they're very important. And I walnutted with something that I potentially could have just left and stewed on in my little teapot of like darkness and doom and anger and feelings. But I let it out, I released and got that off my chest and had a really good conversation as well. So special thanks to everybody involved in that situation. I love you, Giesecke family. But also just a new learning that has smacked me on the nose this week about your parents are just people, your siblings are just people, your friends are just people. We're all just people. We're all people with our own stuff. I don't know. It's like way more spirally in my mind, but really interesting when you get confronted with a situation like that where you have to think that. So that's my musings this week as well. You're welcome. You're welcome for that mind fuck, because it's like a rabbit hole in my head that I can't quite put into words, but I'm sure you get what I mean. So anyway, Walnut, that's me for another week. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to know what you think of this episode. If you resonate, if you have feelings, share and tag me at Walnut Wednesday. If you want to discuss further, you can join the Walnut Tree on Facebook for more discussions, or just message me. In the show notes is my link where you can click and find me on all the things. There's plenty of ways where we can connect. So I would love to hear from you. And I hope you have a wonderful week. Happy Walnut Wednesday. And remember, you are brave and beautiful and sexy and delicious. And you are a wonderful walnut. So have a happy day, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.